what Arizona Fashion Week is doing is redeveloping how should the industry function. Some of the things that we are implementing are becoming what the standards should be, right?
Yeah. How big you guys do each venue? Like each one, you guys try to make it better than the last.
Why don't people change it up a little bit more often? There's this fantasy that people paint in their mind about what it's like to go to one of these fashion weeks. And unfortunately, it's not really there. That fantasy isn't a real thing, but what Arizona Fashion Week is doing is actually bringing that fantasy to life. And I think one thing that we're trying to prove is that it can be done, because one of the biggest questions I get from a lot of people is,
there are 3 major fashion weeks in Arizona, but only one truly sets the standard. Today, we're sitting down with the visionary behind the biggest fashion event in the state, Alex Salazar, director of Arizona Fashion Week. Arizona Fashion Week isn't just a fashion show. It's a movement spanning 2 weeks and featuring over 50 events. It brings together everything from designer showcases and brand nights to wellness experiences, networking mixers, and community-led classes. And when it comes to the venues, they're not just leading Arizona, they're rivaling some of the top fashion weeks across the country. Seriously, it's next level. In this episode, we dive into what it takes to orchestrate something of this scale and how it's uplifting local creatives, student designers, and the impact it's having on the fashion scene here and beyond. Kind of just to start off, do you want to give people just a little background about you, just anything about yourself?
Let's see. I went to school for graphic design and advertising, and that is where I started to realize I had an interest in fashion. I started to see a lot of just similarities as far as aesthetics go, how things kind of like color theory and doing trend reporting on things like that. So ultimately, once I left school, I started off by opening up my own boutique with a family, basically. So I was responsible of doing the graphic design work as far as the logo and identity of the retail store, and then I was the person who also did all the buying. It was the first time I had a chance to kind of work as the buyer and buying in the retail space, learning some of the things that retail stores do, as far as the buying aspect goes and how you're going to position product and things like that. And so that was really my first intro into I guess being in the fashion world. And I did that for some time and then moved back to the Valley. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Was that all in Arizona, or where did you start that?
Yeah, that was in Lakeside, Arizona. So I was a huge snowboarder, and I loved. I just wanted to be closer to the mountain, and I was like, okay, well, this would be kind of cool for my first project right out of college, to kind of build out this little hidden gem out there in Lakeside, Arizona. But yeah, no, I couldn't handle the cold weather. Living in it. I love snowboarding, but living in it and just seeing how the climate affects during that time of the year,
it's rough.
It was rough.
It is rough.
So I had to come back. I found myself coming back every weekend anyway. Those were my days off from running the store, and I was coming back.
Opposite.
I was coming back to town every
honestly,
weekend. So
okay.
So anyways, I transitioned back, and I was looking for what to do next, and I started getting a lot of clients asking me for me to do projects that also required photography and videography on top of the graphic design. They weren't just looking for a graphic designer; they wanted somebody who can bring their project to life all the way through. And that's where I kind of started to develop the concept of I need help, because I was reaching out to some of the people I went to college with. And I started to learn very quickly at that point that creative people can be very flaky, really big talkers, and they can't really actually deliver anything. And so I was constantly struggling when it came to some client work where I was relying off somebody, a web developer, even they were not finishing the project like they said that they could. And that's where I started to realize things needed to change. There needed to be a standard, to kind of hold creatives accountable for the work, and because it gives the rest of us kind of a bad name, because so many clients have told me over and over, my web developer dipped out on me, in the middle of the project, literally. Wow. So many clients just saying that constantly, and it just ultimately one thing led to a next, and I developed the concept of Lux and City. So Lux and City was developed to be more of like a creative agency. Membership is how you joined the Lux and City membership, and we would vet people based off of their skill and talent and their personality to match the rest of the group. And really, that's where like the whole concept just started to blossom as far as the company Lux and City, and then
What was it like?
yeah.
What did Lux and City all entail?
Lux and City was really like it's very similar to the concept that we have today, which is Creative Council. Creative
Okay.
Council is basically a membership for people that are working professionally within the creative industry. And it was very much the same thing back then, except we were offering more design services. This time around, we don't really offer the design services within it. We offer all of our resources and through our network that we've built up to help creatives succeed in some of their endeavors. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so that was kind of your first venture into going into kind of the fashion scene was through Lux and City?
Yeah, well, so once I kicked off that concept of Lux and City, I realized that the fashion industry housed so many other creatives under its umbrella, and that's where I really started to gravitate towards it. So I had an interest in fashion from back working, opening up my first retail location, and then fast forwarding into what Lux and City was kind of developing as. We needed to reach the creatives that were actually willing and wanting to kind of work on projects together, and that's where the fashion industry really started to encompass everything.
Yeah.
So it's not just designers, models, and hair and makeup. It's got graphic designers. It's got photography, videography, advertising, marketing. All of that falls under the umbrella of fashion, and so that's where we really stall that pathway.
Got it. And
Yeah.
then so I mean, once you had that idea with Lux and City, when did you kind of start getting into just creating your events? Like, did you have any shows before you started Arizona Fashion Week, or did you have any experience in any of that?
Yeah, we were helping, and we were partnered with some of the other fashion platforms in the Valley, like, helping them with backstage scenarios, VIP hosting, promotional aspects, providing talent where openings for talent were needed within those fashion weeks, or other fashion platforms. So, yeah. And by the way, I do tend to ramble. So unless you cut me off, I will continue to keep speaking. So
All right,
if I
all right.
ramble too much, just feel free to dip
All
in
right,
there.
got you. If I cut you off, it's because I got a good question.
Yes,
All right,
okay.
it says you said something, and I was like, hold up, we need to go in depth on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so so what gave you the idea to create Arizona Fashion Week? So this is, 2021 is when you kind of started to make that, or when did that idea come about?
Let's see. When did we start Arizona Fashion Week? It's this last year, 2024, was year 3.
Yeah.
So this 2025 will be year 4. But the reason, because with Lux and City, the whole reason why Lux and City was started was to support the creative arts and cultural industries. Everything that we do is always question, how does this support the industry? If it's only about making money and it's not necessarily about providing an opportunity or supporting the industry in some way, we need to reevaluate the topic or the project that we're working on. And so with Arizona Fashion Week, it was very much developed to support the industry. Everything about Arizona Fashion Week has always been about how can we support the designers and get them to do better with their sales, and a fashion week that can really support them, right? Same thing with models, hair, makeup, wardrobe stylists. A lot of people don't realize that these creatives that participate in these fashion productions don't usually get paid or compensated for their time. And that was something we were noticing. Like, it didn't matter which platform or who we were working and dealing with across the board. Those people were constantly just volunteering their time and never really getting paid for it. And the notion in our industry is kind of like, well, if you don't want to do it, there is somebody right behind you willing to do it instead. So it doesn't, and so it just it's a continuous circle and cycle of people just doing things complementary constantly. And if you won't do it, the next person will. And we felt like that is one of those things that really kind of needs to change. And, so Arizona Fashion Week is really built with the mindset of like, how do you support the industry and get it to grow a little bit
Okay.
better.
And with the first year show, so we're gonna be going into depth, like kind of the whole idea of it. So from the venues to kind of the people that you guys invite, or the guests, to the sponsors and everything that you guys kind of have along with the whole fashion week. Let's talk about year one. Like what was the idea for that? I think that one was at the Phoenix Art Museum, and then two other venues.
Yeah.
But how did that first year go? Like what was the thought process behind it?
It's always rough. It doesn't matter what year you're in. It never really gets easier. But year one was kind of like, let's just see what happens. in a sense, like there's nowhere, like I had one opportunity to kind of like see if our team had what it took to develop a fashion week from start to finish, because we had never done that yet before, right? Let alone something that was consecutive for a certain amount of time, right? That was something we had never actually done. And so year one was very much like, let's just see how this goes. And so, the concept though is that each of the major runway shows are in different locations throughout the valley, really as a way to support local business, to get people to experience something they didn't realize existed,
Yeah.
And so I think we've been doing a really great job at keeping up with that. It's why we do that, right? We're questioning, like, how does this support our industry? Well,
Yeah.
for one, a lot of people, guest experience and designer experience, being able to kind of customize where a designer might showcase their collection, really helps them get a little bit more excited that they've got a venue, a location that kind of resembles and helps tell their story a little bit better, regardless of like what category they might see themselves in. So it was about making the runway experience a little bit more customizable and fresh for the guest to experience something new the next day.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's one of the biggest things that I talk about with Arizona Fashion Week, is just how big you guys do each venue. Like each one, you guys try to make it better than the last. And kind of going into that, like, of course, you guys needed to start from ground one, from year one. What was it that you guys learned per year of the fashion shows that you guys said, we can make it better for the next time?
It's expensive to support an entire industry within that amount of time frame. So, when we talk about these initiatives, why we built Arizona Fashion Week, it's composed of all of these elements that are meant to support an area of the community. Now, that gets really expensive. That was something that we weren't really, year one, we were able to do it pretty simply, right? It was pretty straightforward. Year two, it's like, okay, well, what can we do to make it better, to like support more people through this platform? And as you continue to grow, you also have more people that you're trying to support. You start getting more requests from the industry as far as where and what needs more support. And so it was about, how do you handle growth, and how do you maintain that growth, and how do you, in our scenario, how do we support more of our industry and keep it growing, along with our platform?
Yeah.
That's a very challenging thing to accomplish. And, I think one thing that we're trying to prove is that it can be done, because one of the biggest questions I get from a lot of people is, why do you think these other platforms aren't doing it this way? And it's a really great question. And, for some of those questions, it's like, I don't know. There's no how to do this, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of doing it the way we feel is supposed to be the correct way. And so as we're navigating and we're doing a lot of trial and errors as far as, as things from like venue choice. Why do a lot of productions keep fashion weeks within the same venue for that period of time? Why don't people change it up a little bit more often?
Yeah.
Why aren't people paying models? Why aren't people paying hair, makeup, wardrobe? Why aren't people being taken care of and doing these fashion weeks? That is what we're actively learning. And some of these, scenarios, we're starting to realize it is almost impossible to try and please everybody, right? That's the biggest thing. You can't please everybody, but you can at least do what you can to show that you're at least attempting to, and that there might be a new way of thinking about production and about the industry in general.
Yeah.
And even if we don't quite make it there ourselves with being able to do it 100% the way everybody wants us to, we can at least be an inspiration to kind of put it out there that people are talking about this, and the industry, the more people that are doing, are speaking about something, or at least an example of a platform that's even attempting to, it's at least going to encourage others to start doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Very shortly after we did our first production, that notion that models and all these people got paid through it, we started to see some fashion weeks moving forward offering payment for models, and so that was very rewarding to kind of hear that some of the things that we are implementing are becoming what the norm and what the standard should be, right?
Yeah.
And so really about what Arizona Fashion Week is doing is redeveloping how should the industry function.
Yeah, because one thing that I really like that you guys do is all the brand parties for the designers, and then the industry nights, and just all the events that you guys hold. Like it really, again, like it brings the whole community together. So how did those ideas come about? Because that's one thing that you don't really see at a lot of the other fashion weeks, is like those exclusive kind of parties, or the industry nights. Like what was the idea for those?
Yeah, I mean, it was really about how do we support the designers a little bit more, right? And so it's like, well, why don't we have a retail space that people can come to throughout this entire experience of Fashion Week? Really, here's how I kind of put it, or how I'm now thinking about it. We get celebrity designers and guests from outside of the state that come out to Arizona Fashion Week, and one of the things that's one of them said to me was, when you think of New York, Milan, some of these other major fashion weeks across the world, there's this fantasy that people paint in their mind about what it's like to go to one of these fashion weeks. And unfortunately, it doesn't really it's not really there. That fantasy isn't a real thing. Yeah. Maybe that experience exists for a certain group and a certain type of person, but not for everybody. But what Arizona Fashion Week is doing is actually bringing that fantasy to life. And so when for me, I'm like, well, what do I believe a fashion week should incorporate? And one of those things is like a retail experience, a clubhouse location, which is what we've done now for each consecutive year. And so that 2-week schedule has the retail experience at the fashion house. This is where designers can showcase their previous collections and have them up for sale for that entire time frame of our fashion week, and they get to have a designer brand party. The brand parties are meant for people to, meet the designer, get familiar with who the designer is, ask questions, or experience something a little bit more tailored to the brand message. So one of the years we had, I always use this one as an example, but she's, it was a festival wear brand, and so for her brand party, we brought in the music, the lollipop dancers, and like it just had this whole festival vibe that was like all encompassing. So when guests came, if they had never experienced her before, they had a better understanding of what her brand had. But either way, that's some of the things that kind of make up our 2-week schedule. It's the fashion house, which has the retail space. You've got your designers that have the brand parties, the VIP rooms, the hair and makeup studio. All of this stuff is available throughout the 2-week time frame at the fashion house.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a 2-week thing.
Yeah.
And then is it at back to back every single day? There's something new going on, or?
Yeah, it's about 50 events within the 2-week schedule, and so it's pretty much back to back. It's usually got some sort of daytime activation. This is like seminars and workshops,
Gotcha.
That type of thing, and then we go into fashion house actually being open, and then we have usually like a midday, brand party of sorts, and then there's an evening, and then there's an after party to wrap up the entire day. Wow. And so it was about providing like really nice guest experiences, but again, we were experimenting. Everything we do is an experiment for me, right? So I loved that idea of like overload, like Fashion Week overload, but now that we've done this now for some time, we now understand where we can maybe tailor some things a little bit better. And so it probably will not be 50 events anymore.
Gotcha.
Maybe we're going to, tailor it down and combine, because we learned a few things. Not all designers have a really great network. If some of these really great designers we've met, they don't always have their own demographics to reach out to. And so we found that for the brand parties, some of these really great designers would have like maybe 10 or 15 people in the room, and that's not a
fashion, that's
yeah.
not-
And
yeah,
so
yeah,
but they were great, and so we really had to do a lot of work on that side of things, and so it was kind of adding to the workload.
Gotcha, yeah.
This time around, we're going to start planning those brand parties to where the designers that do have really great crowds aligned with another designer. We're we're working
whichever
on
one
it on
got
how
the
to
most
tailor
people
it.
in.
Yeah.
Like, let's move forward and double down on those ones for sure.
Yeah, it's analyzing why was this one so much more successful, who was in the crowd, who was helping with the promotional aspect of things, and like
Yeah.
maybe tailoring everybody else's brand parties, because not everybody throws events either. And so, giving designers a little bit more creative freedom to have more say as far as like what is their brand party supposed to be like, or what is their runway show supposed to be. They don't always know those answers, because they're not event producers. So as we move forward, there will be some new structural things that take place during Fashion Week, just to kind of streamline it, fine tune.
So can I ask you something really quickly? Because at the beginning of this, you said that you and your team, obviously, like a good amount of people are doing this.
Oh, yeah.
So is there like is there a big difference between the people you work with when you first did it compared to now? Now that you have things more organized, is it more people, less people that you have to work with?
It's definitely
Like,
more people. More people with a core team that's a little bit more focused. So,
Okay.
that's one of the things about when you're trying to build an industry in a city where not everybody is coming out having experienced these things before. Arizona is very new to the fashion industry, so the probability of us finding somebody who has been a model director in the past professionally, or somebody who has produced runway professionally, isn't very likely here in Arizona. We've noticed that we are actively having to train people as we move forward, which is another very tedious job, but it has to be done because we're just not in a city where these careers are plentiful.
Yeah.
Right? We're actively kind of creating that, and so we have to do a lot of internships and stuff. And so just to answer your question, yes, there's a drastic difference between year one when we started, when everybody thought they knew what they were supposed to be doing, versus now, where it's like, okay, we still have a lot of the same team members that are with us from since the first year,
Nice.
that have now understood what we do in Arizona and how we're supposed to do it versus what they're doing in other parts of the U.S. And how we compare, because for a while, like I said, we do things based off of the way we feel it should happen, which is totally different from the rest of the United States. And so I think that's like where we have a little bit of like a little bit of an upper hand.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have more pride because of that? Because you basically are you guys are putting this all kind of from scratch almost in a sense, compared to other people.
Not necessarily more pride. It's just I think that we're just different, and we like what we're able to do. I believe in some of these other cities, they don't really have a choice but to move as fast as they possibly can.
Gotcha.
Arizona, we do have a little bit of that
Freedom,
ability to move a little bit at our own pace, but at the same time keeping up with it. Because we can't move completely slow. We've got to be on top of it.
It has to be a good mix, yeah.
But we have the ability to kind of,
like extend something if need be, or
reorganize a little bit, and more time to trial and error things.
Gotcha. Okay.
Whereas in some of these other cities, they just have to do it. They're on a time schedule, and their people are expecting it at that point. Like they have to. Here in Arizona, we kind of are still kind of paving what does that mean for us in the fashion industry here. So yeah.
Just to kind of go on with the brand parties and industry nights and everything, like another piece of that are like the restaurant partnerships that you guys do, and like all the sponsors that you guys work with that also encompass everything that you can do at Fashion Week. So also like the hotel too, like how does that all come about, from the restaurants to the hotels and all that type of stuff?
Well, we kind of put ourselves into when we're planning any event or any something that's supposed to have an experience with it, we think about it from the guest perspective from start to finish. So it's that, in simplest terms, it's like, what does a guest experience when they first walk through the door? There's check-in, right? And then what do they experience from there? And then what's the next thing they're going to see from that point? It's about following the guest all the way through. And so when we're talking about Fashion Week, what is going to make it exciting for guests coming into Fashion Week? What's going to kind of solidify that fantasy? And it's like, okay, they arrive at they land in Phoenix, Arizona. What do they see next? Is there a car that's picking them up? And then where are they going after that? And then what is the schedule once they are settled into the hotel? What are some of the things that they can do from that point? What do they end the evening? Like, all of those things are questions that we kind of run through with the team, and we're like imagining what that experience should kind of be like. And that's how we kind of tailor the guest experience. And so while guests are in town, I mean, the restaurants we have in Arizona are actually extremely great restaurants.
Honestly, though.
And very fashion forward as well, very fashionable types of locations. And so when you're talking about fashion and how it can encompass so many different industries and like, a restaurant, nightlife, all of those things, shopping, retail, events and parties, all of those things are things people think about when you are building this fantasy in your mind of what a fashion week should entail. What are some of the things you want to experience while you're here? And those are all the things we try to incorporate into our Fashion Week schedule.
Yeah, no, definitely, because there's just so much that you can do. Like, even when Fashion Week is over, I remember just seeing social media and everybody was like kind of disappointed that it's over. They had 2 weeks of such fun times that they were like, what am I going to do now?
I know.
People have a good time at these events. So
yeah, I know. I hear about it. It's like, what now? What? And it's actually pretty hard to like whip yourself out of that like crazy work mode after doing it, like, because we work really hard for those 2 weeks straight through, and then once it's over, like, you're still on this like, you want to keep work. We have things that we're working on, but it's hard for a lot of people to realize that like chill out, like take a break. You just finished doing like this big thing right here. Not a long break. Like, you got to get back into it, but it is. I get a lot of the same type of comments. It's like, now what do we do? We're like, we don't know what to do. We haven't seen everybody in like a week, and it's like, it's only been a week.
Yeah,
chill out,
right? Yeah, and it's just because like Arizona Fashion Week is the one doing the most kind of events, so it's like because I mean some of the other fashion weeks out here aren't doing that same amount of just events and stuff to bring the community together like you guys are. So yeah, it definitely is an event that, again, if it's once a year, people wanna be there. They wanna experience Arizona Fashion Week.
So what's the prep time look like then? Because it's a 2-week event, and then so are you planning year round? Kind of like you said, you kind of take a little break because like obviously you have to plan the next one, right? Like, what is that, like a all year round kind of thing, or is it like a certain month in the year where you're like, all right, now we start doing this, or is it like how exactly does that get started? Or
it really depends on the initiatives. And for us, we're always wanting to push those further. So when we talk about our Student Runway Scholarship program that we have, when we talk about style comp, when we talk about, being able to pay the models and stuff, those initiatives, we have realized that it means that we are starting much earlier in the year to start planning those, to the point where it has kind of felt like a fashion year, like, right? Like, that's just kind of on the with our team, we always joke about that. It's actually a fashion year, not a fashion week.
Yeah,
and
so much.
because we do have so much to plan, but then a lot of our partners, they want to continue the momentum after Fashion Week, and so and then we get a lot of new people who want us to come on board with their stuff and want to align with the brand of Fashion Week. And so it definitely is this like annual calendar that we are realizing in year 4 that people want more of. And so again, it's like balancing that growth. Like, how do you rise to the occasion when people want more? That's really what it comes down to. People just want more, and we're happy to try and make that happen. But I think people think we're a really large corporation, and that's
yeah.
I mean,
awesome. That's a good
it is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think people forget that we're also very small. We're very local. Like, there's like 10 of us on our team that work on an annual basis, know, and these things really do take a whole community. People don't realize that when they think that it's all being done by us, they don't realize the part that they play. We've organized Arizona Fashion Week to allow our entire community to really get involved. And as simply as showing up to support a stylist or whatever it might be, you're actively playing a role in this community effort to help people further their careers. And so it's really rewarding when I hear about the impact that people have had with it. And really it's we couldn't do it without everybody. It's not just a one-man show. It's literally a community. It takes a whole community to make something like this happen. It really does, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, let's go into like the venues, because I mean, part of what
The venues.
the venues, like the Abbey, I thought was an amazing venue. It really like brought out just the theme of the whole Fashion Week, and then being at the X Phoenix. What inspires the next venue? Like, how do you choose that?
You know, we get a lot of inspiration just when we see what the other major fashion houses are doing. That's what we're really more trying to achieve. Like when you see like the Chanel shows, of course, everybody is like, if you know anything about fashion and runway, you know that Chanel puts a lot of like really cool experiences and build outs into their runway shows. But like we like to pay attention to what is taking place with the major fashion houses. How are they doing their shows? What can we take away from that? What is the trend? You know, what are people kind of, like last year, you start to realize that like red was a huge color last year for the event industry. Drapery is going to be huge. So like we're looking at things like that. So when we're touring our venues, we're finding out like, what is it that we've kind of been seeing? So we have a little bit of a trend that we're following, but then we're going to throw in our own little twist and like, kind of put it in a different direction. But it really just depends too on like, when we do venue tours, unless there's a place where like the Abbey, we're like, absolutely, yes, we're doing it here. Like you just get that feeling of like, absolutely, we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
But then we have really a list of people, a list of venues that we will consider, and it's going to depend on what kind of designers we have gravitating towards us that year. And so that's when we will start to like, because we actively do both. While we're touring venues, we're interviewing partners and designers, and we're seeing who is most likely going to come on board, and then choosing our venues accordingly. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Is there specific aesthetics you guys look for, or is that like all depending on the like the artists and the people you have coming in there?
It's really about, because there's a lot of things that we're considering. Of course, like the designer categories, who's going to look the best in this venue. But also like what's going to be like exciting for guests as well. And so usually we're looking for something that's brand new, that's never been seen before, or we're looking for something that did a remodel and they need a revival kind of scenario taking place. Or just something that has been here forever that people just didn't realize existed. Like those are things that we're actively kind of looking for to give people more of an experience, because the venue itself plays a huge role in the outcome of the show.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so let's go into kind of the designers and models and that whole aspect of it. Like when you're choosing the designers for these shows, is there like, do they reach out to you, or do you, again, you just kind of explain which designer would look best in a venue, but the ones that reach out that want to be on the runway, like how do they connect with you, or how do they end up making it on the runway?
Everybody undergoes like an interview process. It's our way of kind of just vetting the people that the designers and even partners that we're working with. So, I mean, it's on our website. It's available all the time. Somebody fills out the application, we call them in, and we set up an interview, and we're asking them like detailed questions about their brand, how far along they are when they got started, how big their team is, yada, 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 just to kind of get to the key point of like, will this fashion week benefit both parties, right? Because we want people to be able to understand what it means to, fashion weeks are not a cheap thing for designers or even partners to do. And so it's really about making sure that they understand that like, if you're doing this because you understand what it means to be doing a show, right? People don't just do shows just to do them. You do the shows because you need people to see your next collection. You want people to be able to buy, and you're going to do that work to go above and beyond to make sure that your collection, you're going to get customers somehow. We can provide as many resources and things as we possibly can, but ultimately we need to know that the designers and partners are actively willing to do as much work to because it's all a reflection of our success, our relationship between both, right? We want to make sure that if it's working as much as possible, because if it's not, why have a fashion week? What's the point? You know,
Yeah.
if it's not actually going to do anything for anybody. So we put a lot of time and effort and detail, and we want to make sure that the people we're bringing on to participate understand that. And that's what the interview process is for. So, and you know, from a lot of people from the outside looking in, they always ask us like, how did you guys find such a great community of people to surround yourselves with? It's the vetting process. That's, you know, it sets the
Right.
tone, it sets the standard and of what we expect and what they're looking for, you know, that we can help them with what they need. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
just being a designer in it, like there's so many benefits. Cause like, I mean, let's take the aesthetic for one. Didn't her brand grow like 2 times since being in Arizona Fashion Week? Like she had her own store and all that.
I don't know that she grew that great. I mean, that quick, that much. But she did. She saw a lot of like really great growth come from Arizona Fashion Week. A lot of our designers have, especially with like the custom ordering, meeting the new influencers. You know, because we have a lot of things that are just set up to make sure that those are streamlined success stories. So
Yeah. Same with
but-
like, I was going to go with like Tiffany Ray. And
Oh, yeah,
then,
Tiffany Ray.
Lena. Like they've all like also done great things with being a part of Fashion Week or being like in that community. So, I mean, just being in it is also just a big opportunity in itself because you guys have that network and community behind you guys.
Yeah, you know, and Tiffany Ray, I'm glad you brought her up because she's a really great example. I mean, all of them. Lena Mars was a really great example, as well as those designers that like put in just as much effort as we did, you know, to make sure that their brand was seen in the best light possible. And
Yeah.
those designers really knew what that meant, and that's why they probably stood out to you and why you mentioned each of those designers. There's a lot that do really great jobs, but
Yeah. I mean, everybody at these fashion shows, like you said, they all do an amazing job. But there's like those few that you can tell put in the extra work because like they want to use that as an opportunity. Like
Yeah.
they see it as an opportunity to build their business. And yeah, those were just some of the names that I just saw just through the time that have been doing really well since then.
Well, and we saw like just again as we fine tuned it from year to year, we saw what took place this year with Tiffany Ray, right? Like, we put her in the right venue. She chose the right models to help bring that story to life, and she killed it with that collection. After Fashion Week, she was like, we had people asking about Tiffany Ray left and right, and then we plugged her in with Art Basel. You know, she did a show out there in Miami for Art Basel, and then she came out with us to New York and showcased out there. And it was really great to see all of the revisions we've done throughout the years leading to last year and what we've been able to do and where we've been able to take one of our like really talented designers and how Arizona Fashion Week is able to kind of carve that pathway to get her to Miami, to also get her to New York.
Yeah.
And you know, kind of doing this entire fashion tour is everything that Arizona Fashion Week is actively trying to figure out. How do we just grow our industry in Arizona, and how do we get the attention from everybody from all of the other major fashion cities to recognize it? And so,
Exactly.
you know, we're always thinking ahead. We're always thinking in the future, and you know, I think that's what's been kind of worked out
Yeah.
really well for us, you know.
Yeah, and it even goes down, I mean, for one, like all that with the designers too, and for two, with the models. Like you guys like support your models like so much. Like just kind of like walk me through just some of the things that you guys do to support your models and how you guys kind of help them through their journey in fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you know, through Arizona Fashion Week, we offer like the complimentary model coachings, you know, just to kind of help everybody refine, because again, for us, it's like, it's also us too. So we want to make sure that we're casting models that know exactly what to do on the runway. And so we do offer the complimentary coachings. We always invite our models to come out to our events to network and meet the sponsors, meet the designers, because being in this industry is very competitive. And so what it is, we're trying to encourage our models to get better at networking and the value of networking, because you know, there's a lot of people who want to be a fashion model. They don't always know what that means, because fashion model means that you are working, you're wanting to work and be that for a full-time career, and that's like working a regular job. When you wake up, what are you doing to be a fashion model, right? And so going to events and constantly meeting people is just part of that on the roster of like, what does it mean to be competitive in this industry? It's going to events and making sure you're constantly being seen, meeting the right people, and having the courage to actually shake someone's hand. So we're always encouraging our models to come out for the networking opportunities that we're always providing. And then what was the actual question? All the things that we do for models, right?
Yeah. So like just how you guys support them through the journey, and it even goes kind of to the casting, like when you guys set up your castings, like I mean, you guys have so many people coming out. Like even to that, how do you guys organize that and choose the models from there?
Yeah, well, ultimately we narrow it down from like I think we had like 700 models that came out to cast for Arizona Fashion Week, and then we just simply narrow it down to the top, 100, I think has been the number we've stuck with for the last couple of years. From there, it's up to the designers. The designers now get to choose from the 100. And so, for our models, we're going through the cycle of like, come out for coaching, get better at different elements of being a model, right? Do the coaching, come to the events, make sure you're networking and shaking hands with these designers, because sometimes your personality can change everything as far as them wanting to cast you. Because ultimately models with Arizona Fashion Week, we pay the models per designer show that they're getting casted for. And so, of course, if I knew that as a model, I would be going to every single thing, shaking everybody's hand, trying to get them to, and convincing them that I am the right face for you. You want to hire me, right? You want to cast me, because that's what's going to matter for me at the end of the day as a model. And, a lot of, we're actively trying to spread the word of the importance of that. We make it very simple for our models to kind of navigate into the industry in a really big way. Once they take a trip outside to New York Fashion Week, they realize that it's a whole different ball game. You're paying for your own flight and hotel, and you're navigating yourself to all of these different castings, right? And a lot of that stuff is unpaid. So you're paying for your entire experience in hopes to maybe get casted and walk the runway.
Yeah.
And so we've cut out a lot of that. A lot of that little bit of a craziness, and made it a little bit more simpler for our models to really kind of hone in and perfect and take a hold of the opportunity we've kind of carved out, for them.
Yeah, and it really works too, because I know just quite a bit of models too who have gone to Miami without being booked. Like they just go on the whim. Yeah, like, all right, let's go to these castings. Again, they probably get it from meeting so many people at Arizona Fashion Week. They get comfortable with just being in the space. So then they want to take that venture to go out and see if they can cast for one of the shows, whether it's like Miami, New York, or Las Vegas. There's so many that just go out there and just try and see if they can do it. And a lot of them do. Like they have that experience that they do end up walking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to kind of see our industry really, we're doing whatever we can to help to ensure its growth and to do things, differently. And so we're really excited about what we're going to do for this year for sure.
Yeah, and then let's talk about like the makeup artists and hairstylists and all them. Like, how do you kind of choose those people? Because I know it's like is it one company that kind of takes over all the hair, or is it like multiple people that do that? How do you guys organize that?
Yeah, no, we'll do that in different. We've tried it in different ways, right? Everything is always kind of like we're always experimenting a little bit. So we've experimented with like a single company. Also the hair schools, individual hair stylists as well, makeup artists, and so we've tried it in those 3 different ways. This year, we're really going to see what is going to make the most impact. And, that's always like, it varies year to year. We haven't really fine-tuned it. But ultimately, people can get involved. It just starts by just filling out the application. Everybody that is a department lead is, taking a look at everybody's profiles, checking your work, your previous work experience in that area, and then we kind of just go from there. So even if it has been, like, I've always been that, like, I've always said, like, we need to leave room for our industry to come in as well as, like, the independent, like, contractors and things. So even if it was a hair school or another big hair salon that was taking over, I always made sure that there were still a few spaces left for people in our industry to also get in with it, because the hair school is strictly students, and then the salon was strictly the people who worked in that salon, and that so I always like to make sure that there's a little bit of something there for the
opportunity. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So regardless of which way we go, there's always that opportunity. We're always looking for hair and makeup artists.
Okay, awesome. You guys heard that. If you guys want to have a chance to be at the next Arizona Fashion Week, go on the website and just sign up, and then you can have that possibility.
Yeah, and there's applications for every single category you can possibly think of on our website, and that's basically that's the first step to getting going.
Yeah, to get involved. Okay. So, I mean, you've been to so many different fashion weeks just around the country. Being at all these, like, is there anything that you've kind of seen that lacks in other fashion weeks that you're like, we need to try this for Arizona?
That we need to try in Arizona? I would think that's a little bit of a tough one. They do castings like on the fly, and I've been trying to figure, and I'm not sure if it's something that I want to try. It's just been in the back of my mind because I see it happening in all these other major fashion cities. The castings are happening just a couple days before the shows. And it's because you do have people traveling from out of state that are models who want to get casted. I want to favor our local community, but I also want to encourage the element of like models and people flying in for a chance to be casted and experience what Arizona Fashion Week has. It's just a matter of it's a little challenging. Our designers like the idea of being able to know who their cast is far enough in advance that they can build their garments around their body shape and size.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? They build a relationship with the model. There's a little bit of that like mutual respect between the designer and the model because they've gotten to know each other. They've gotten to work together. That's where the photo shoots, getting hired in the future come to play. It builds this whole longevity that you lose that when you get a lot of other people flying in from out of state. They're just casting on the fly. Yeah. And then you lose that respect between, it's kind of very quick surface level. There's no heart and soul put into it, right? And so I'm fighting with that idea. Like I want to be able to allow that to take place, but we also have we have a high standard of like how to work in this, and at least in Arizona, how to be in this industry here. So I don't know how well I don't know if it's going to open more problems for us, and so I don't know yet.
I
but
feel
that's
like
something we're thinking about.
Yeah, because once it gets to that point too, because I feel like right now the industry still isn't big enough to kind of know whether or not to go that route or not. But I mean, definitely once it starts getting bigger, like that'll be, because everybody's kind of doing that. It's like that day, the casting before the show or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely once the industry out here grows, it'll be something to look into, I think. So
yeah.
But
so is it very? Because from everything you're explaining, is there like priority over certain artists or like designers or anything like that, or is it all very competitive, like first come first serve kind of thing? Like how exactly does it work? Like who gets to go where, or is that all part of the plan?
It is very much first come first serve.
Okay.
So that's just to encourage people to move quicker. People procrastinate quite a bit, and so we want everybody's experience to be the best we could possibly make it, and so that means getting people to just come on sooner, so we have more time to work and execute the plan. So it's a lot of it is first come first serve as far as model selection goes, as far as venue choices go. A brand party, that's a big one, because if you're last, your brand party might be happening on a Tuesday afternoon at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. So it's all about timing is right. So a lot of our designers who were extremely successful last year already have they're already dialed in,
pre-planned
yes.
already.
And that's the relationship we want. We want people to experience Arizona Fashion Week and know that they are going to plan their year around us, and we're already being incorporated into their planning. So with designers like Tiffany Ray and Lena Mars, who are actively building their collection now for this year, those are designers that we get to start working with and honing in and what can we do better for you guys, right? Because they've already come on board. So it is very much first come, first serve. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I was interested to think about that, because you're saying you guys have to think about what venue, what kind of people you put in there, and you're kind of organize everything. So I was kind of a little curious as to how exactly that kind of broke down to like, was it like a mental, like, oh, this person has this aesthetic, we're going to put them in this venue?
It does sometimes, yeah. Because there's usually like myself and Joe, who is the co-director of Arizona Fashion Week. When we're interviewing a designer, sometimes we already know which venue, right? And sometimes we haven't even chosen the venue yet. We just know that like, okay, when we meet this specific designer, that's when we know that we're going to choose this venue. And like it happens so often, like we don't always let the designer know that, but mentally, me and Joe, we both are on the same page and we know exactly where, if this designer does come on board, we know exactly where they're going. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. And I just had a quick question, just because I've never experienced. I think the only fashion show I've ever been to was when my sister did back in like high school or something like that. So I'm not very kind of familiar with fashion shows and kind of like what they kind of look like. So like, as let's say brand new person wants to go to Fashion Week and kind of experience that, like what is kind of like, for someone that has no idea about fashion or kind of what they're doing, just more of like just wanting to experience, like how do you go about that? Like what should I be looking for? Like like is there specific like places? Because I'm still kind of confused that, because there's multiple venues, different events. So is this like a list somewhere where they're like, this place at this time, kind of like follow with it? You got to pay each like venue. Like how exactly is that broken down?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that like aside from like a fashion week that you should experience, which Arizona Fashion Week, of course, you
Gotta be
definitely experience ours. But I would say Art Heart's New York show. I haven't been to the fall, but we've been to the spring now for the last couple of years, and that's been a really great experience. It's like that exciting New York vibe that everybody's kind of like hoping to experience. They do a pretty great job at maintaining that platform where they're at in New York. But that would be one that I think is probably one to experience.
But I'm sorry. I guess I'm really bad at asking questions. But the Arizona Fashion Week, like if I wanted to go experience Arizona Fashion Week, like what?
Got it.
How do I experience Arizona Fashion Week? I guess.
Well, for one, I would say we do so many events throughout the year, and that's usually a really great that we use those events to invite people that either have been wanting to work with us or they're like a designer that's considering Arizona Fashion Week for this year. They get a chance to kind of come out and see like some of the other events that we're kind of doing, because a lot of what we do throughout the whole year is really about what are we going to put on the schedule. So like when we're talking about all these different scenarios and ideas, you actually start to see those things kick off at the events that are happening now.
Okay.
Because we're testing something.
Gotcha.
To see what it is we're actually going to put on the 2-week schedule. So we'll use some of those events when we feel like it's like a really great example is for somebody to come out and see. We'll do our own due diligence to invite those people that need to kind of be there for that experience, because they're actively deciding whether or not they want to come on with Arizona Fashion Week. So there's a lot of events that people can come to.
Gotcha. Is it
So
like a
either
public kind of thing, or or is it invite only? Like how?
There's a lot of invite only things, but there's a lot of public announcements as well. And so it's really about if you don't know us, reach out through Instagram, shoot us a DM, or even on the website where you've got all of those different ways where you can like literally like join the mailing list, or you're an actual creative and you want to get involved. There's something there for every application. For the most part.
Yeah. Like that's something that you guys have been working on for the past year, right? Getting that website like fine-tuned and like seamless, so then anybody and everybody can connect through the website. Right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, the idea of like being able to just go that always is there. It's the design element that changes every year. Yeah.
Nice.
When it's time for it to change.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something different, rebranding.
Yeah.
But so what's been your favorite part of Fashion Week? Like you've been doing it for 4 years now, and you kind of seen the good and the bad, like and the ugly. What's your favorite piece? Like just something that you just love from doing. And
I think it's deciding what the venue is going to be and what it's going to look like on the inside. That's probably my favorite thing right now is the production side of things.
Putting it all together.
Yeah.
Right. What's been your favorite venue? Like out of every one that you guys have done, is there one that you just stood out to you the most?
The Abbey is a really great one because that was fresh and new for this year. The Mesa Mix Center was also a really great venue that we really enjoyed. We might actually maybe do some more shows. I feel like I believe that they develop a few more new like
The LED screens
areas in that college at the moment. So yeah, we might go back there, but the Abbey is probably one that really got some great inspiration because we don't have a lot of things like that in Arizona, and so that was why that one was so special.
Yeah, that one was definitely like you almost felt like you were just in a different
Place.
Yeah, like it was just like how you guys set it up and like having it all like a dystopian kind of look. Like yeah, I really like that. I think that one, and then the air park, the first year of the air park.
Yeah.
I think those two have been my favorite venues so far. Like they were just like you just felt like that experience of being there was just like different. Like you can't experience it anywhere else.
Yeah, and that's really something that we get really excited about is like what the venues are going to be, you know, and deciding what all the little details are that people will experience for that venue. Yeah.
Nice. So I mean, just to kind of wrap up, like what is the next kind of things that you guys have coming up for Arizona Fashion Week for like sponsors or just the events that's coming up? Like, do you guys have a lot planned for the next couple months?
Yeah, we kick off our designer brunch series in a couple weeks, and we have a lot of really cool stuff coming up that I'm not like.
Can't say just yet. A little
I mean,
exclusive,
kind of, but
classified.
you know, we've got the big pool. We got an annual pool party that's coming up, and we've got a big spa and wellness day coming up at the West End Kierland Resort. So yeah, there's some things to definitely watch out for.
Yeah, because I mean, definitely for anybody that's watching this that wants to get involved in just fashion and the community around Arizona Fashion Week. I mean, you guys have events going on year round. Like, do you guys just do the website, or do you guys put up stuff on like Eventbrite or something?
Mostly on the website through the text text
Socials.
blast or through the e-blast social media. We have many different forms of communication when it comes to that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So like I was saying, definitely if you guys just want to get more involved in the community out here in Arizona, Arizona Fashion Week holds a ton of events through the year that you can go to, network, meet a lot of people, and definitely you guys just make it fun. That's the thing. Like you guys just make it a great time. So
Yeah.
But do you have anything to wrap up to say?
I'll be honest, I have so many questions. I don't want to start asking them right now. We're gonna get into a deeper hole.
Well, it's a lot because people, they want to know everything.
Yeah,
and it's
there's a
like
lot of
just so
details
you
to
like
it.
it's
so
2
much
weeks,
to it.
50 events. There's so many different things that are involved, and it's not that we're trying to do too much. It's that we are doing the most. Really, we've been doing this for some time. We've been able to trial and error things. We've listened to the community, and this is what you've got. And there's so much to really understand and experience, and it's because it's meant for different people, different categories in each of these like initiatives that we've got. So it's a lot.
I'm actually super excited to like maybe even attend some of these events and stuff like that and kind of like actually experience because like it's one thing to kind of have like an image, like you said, like people have the fantasy of how certain things are like meant to be or whatever. Because that's basically all I have right now is just like the mental picture of what it is because I've never experienced. So I'm actually like talking to you and stuff like that. I'm excited to kind of experience one for like for real, sit down and kind of actually experience it. So.
Yeah, Arizona Fashion Week this year, you'll be there.
Hell
And whatever comes up,
it's gonna be good.
Coming along too. But I mean, just to wrap up, where can people find you? Like social platforms, everything like that.
Yeah, on social media, it's azfw.official for Instagram, and then website is arizonafashionweek.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Hot Shots podcast. I hope you guys got a lot of value in this episode. We really talked about a lot of things that are happening here in Arizona, and definitely Alex is one of the trailblazers, pioneers that are definitely making the Arizona industry what it is right now. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Honestly, appreciate it.